I guess you can call this take 2 of If You Bout It, because last night I did a stream called If You Bout It for 2 hours, and it completely was erased off the face of planet Earth. It's just gone. It no longer exists. It's disappeared. It was erased. Reason being, I guess, that I was playing Hell of a Boss, and just in the middle of playing it, whole stream went down. So like, this has happened a few times where I was watching something a little more copyrighted than I realized, and then the stream went down. But every other time that this happened, there was still the VOD. And the VOD was usually blocked, but not necessarily for the clip that the stream had been taken down for. Like, whatever I was watching at the time that the stream goes down isn't necessarily what will get it blocked worldwide afterward. But in this case, there was no VOD at all. It just simply is gone. And I didn't save a backup, and Twitch didn't save a backup. So yeah, that's just a 2-hour stream that the world will never see again. Whatever 20 people or so were there, y'all got to see it. Now, what concerns me the most is I don't even know if I got to keep the money. I know that Tony from Hack the Movies has said, he said this on one of Mint's streams the other day, that if YouTube deletes your stream, they keep the money. So if that's true, that would be highly disturbing. If because I think I made like at least $20-30 or so last night on that stream, and I hope it still exists. Jeff with Ron $2 to start the stream off with. Yeah, Jeff, I really hope that I still have the money that you sent me last night, because it's possible that YouTube swallowed it and just ate it and it's gone. I don't know for sure. I've never had one of my live streams totally disappear before. Again, it's not like it's not blocked, it's gone. So yeah, I don't know what that means. It's like extra. It's like the next level of beyond just like, hey, you know, we're taking your video down, we're taking your stream down because we think you're doing copyright infringement. They're like, nah, this is this video can't exist on this platform. I'm like, damn. You really cannot be reprinting Hell of a Boss, I guess, in any way, shape, or form. Don't do it, gang. Don't redistribute Hell of a Boss, gang. Sorry. I love the show. Can't redistribute it though. Never had any trouble redistributing, you know, Lackadaisy or Murder Drones or The Amazing Digital Circus or Punch Fever. You know, all of those. I don't know how the creators necessarily feel about reactions to their content, but I would think it would be good. I would think it's good for them. It's possible that it's not in the creator's hands. You know, maybe it's just whoever owns the licenses to Hell of a Boss and Has Been Hotel doesn't want the shit. I mean, I think Hulu probably like owns Hell of a Boss. Like they're letting it be on YouTube. That doesn't mean they'll let anybody put it on YouTube. I don't know. I don't know. Then it says, Trixie, I'm going to edit a drunk 20 anime recommendations video. Does that editing software you use work better for adding text on screen than Sony Vegas? I don't know if it works better per se, but it works. You can put text on screen. I don't know. You can go watch me do it probably in one of the live streams where I was editing. I don't know how many times I actually put text on screen during any of those edits, but I'm sure I did it during the Dead Mount Death Play edit. I think I edited some of that on stream. No, actually I did not. Never mind. Maybe I've only edited the Gurren Lagann video. I don't know if I ever did texting. Whatever, it's not hard to figure out. If you can figure out how to use Sony Vegas, you can surely figure out how to use DaVinci Resolve. Such a terrible name. There is a precedent/well-known occurrence of Vivzy Pop content claiming reviews. I was friends with a small creator who got anally pounded by the Vivs. Well, that's unfortunate. You know, I'd like the opportunity to ask her about it, you know, to be like, hey, Vivs, do you just not want people reacting to your stuff? Or like, is this you? Is this like the company's above you? Is this a contract thing, you know? Or is this personal? Because it's hard for me to imagine that she wouldn't, like, in the time that I encountered Vivzy Pop, she was obsessively watching all of the reviews. Because, like, when they were at Too Many Games, when I met them, they had just released, like, a new episode. And so they were just, like, you know, particularly Vivzy was, like, tracking every, like, she's basically spent the whole night on her phone looking at the reactions to the new episode, you know? So she obviously cares a lot about what people are saying about her shows. I can't imagine that she would personally want that content to be removed if she's, you know, dedicatedly consuming it. It's hard to imagine that she'd be like, you know, how dare they reappropriate my content? It's like, nah, you know. I can even confirm, I got Adam Nalen to watch at least some of the Asterisk War Sucks. So I know they like reviews. You know, the people who write this show, they like reviews. There's no chance that they are personally flagging the reviews, you know. So I don't want to blame. I know Vivzy Pop is the name of the entire organization, which kind of makes it complicated because it's also like just like how Vivienne Medrano is referred to personally. But you know, I don't think they're anti-review. So I want to know the story. I want to know why it's happening. If it's not their fault. Yeah, or Luna, we can do that furry pride list when I'm at a computer. Yeah, everybody's hyping up this new Code Geass show, so I guess I'll have to check it out. I assume I don't need to have seen all of the interstitial... Like, I don't know how many people really realize that Code Geass has just, like, kept coming out. Because no one has fucking talked about it. Like, Season 2, if you were a part of anime discourse online in 2008, it was just Code Geass. All right, how about now? I'm still muted now. Still muted? Good now? Okay. Jesus fucking Christ. I always wonder, if I'm ranting at the camera and you can't hear me, is your assumption first that I have no idea I'm muted, or that I'm saying, can you hear me? Can you tell what I'm saying over and over again? While I try to figure it out. Or is it clear when the shift happens? Can you see, like, in my expression? Ah, okay. Now she knows that it's an audio problem. See, the issue is that if you get a phone call while you're doing a live stream, and then you end the phone call, it just, like, doesn't bring audio back to the live stream. And I thought maybe, like, you know, pausing and restarting or something, or like hitting the mute and unmute might fix it. None of that worked. I had to close out of the YouTube app, reopen it, and click resume stream. I don't know how long you can leave the app open before, like, or closed, I mean. I don't know how long you can close the app and it'll still keep the stream up. Be interested to find out. Trixie, you gone mute with $2, says it's Kentaro. And then ... over, never mind. And then a thumbs up face. Well, I was explaining something at first before I realized I was muted, and I was explaining why I got that phone call. You see, last night, my friend John, who does the job I used to do, who's the one who got me and Bird that job, he was in town to do the job. And was just like swinging by. We were like, hey, come say hi. You know, we all went to a Mexican food restaurant, and he had brought over, he had this little terrarium he'd created inside of like a Ikea water bottle, where he'd collected some like plants and snails from a lake or something in North Carolina, where he was yesterday, and you know, made it a little terrarium. And he had wanted it to get sunlight, so he'd left it in the backyard, but then forgot about it after we went to dinner and everything. So then, also last night, we did a live stream for 2 hours, and it was erased off the face of the earth by YouTube. I have no idea if I still get the money that was super chatted to me during that stream, because YouTube basically is acting like this stream never happened. It just like is erased. There's no record of it. In my, like, if I go into my YouTube, you know, my YouTube studio, it's not there. And that's never happened before. I've had the streams get taken down for copyright before while they were live. Usually the VOD still exists. It might get blocked, but I can then cut parts out of it. That was not the case this time. It's just gone. So it was a fun show. You know, I had John on. We were talking about his comic ideas, and he was just kind of introducing himself, talking about anime. We watched like a few Hell of a Boss shorts. We listened to a few songs that Jeff had requested. So, you know, I hope at least that, Jeff, you got your money's worth out of that experience, because I may or may not have actually gotten that money. So, you know, the experience still exists for those of us that had it. You know, mentally, I mean. The memory of it. And I guess a memory is not really a thing that exists, per se. I don't know. Is there like a physical way to... Whatever. It must exist in some kind of physical capacity. Memory, I mean. The stream, not so much. The Twitch didn't save a VOD, though. I could not upload the Twitch VOD. There was no Twitch VOD. Twitch does not seem to automatically save streams. I don't know how you tell it to save a stream, but I have not seen any of my streams on there be saved. I also did not do a local recording because I don't want to fill my computer up with files that usually I'm not going to need. So, yeah, no, it's just gone. 2 hours that exist only in the memories of people who were there, and never again for anyone else. Probably $25 worth of customers getting what they want, but none of the money actually coming to me. All of it getting swallowed by YouTube. So basically YouTube got paid for me to do work for you. Makes a whole lot of sense. I am literally a slave to Google. Google, take my slave dollar. Maybe more like an indentured servant. I could have another job, I guess. So, you know. So YouTube is ripping you off. Well, YouTube has always been ripping you off. I've been telling you that YouTube is always ripping you off, because they're already taking a whole third of what you give me. And again, it's not taxed on their end, so I then have to pay taxes on, you know, the rest of it. So ultimately I only make a third of that money. And then on top of that, YouTube can just take my live stream down and decide that money is their money. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but that's what Tony was saying, is that if YouTube takes your live stream down completely, they'll just keep the money. And I know stuff like this happens. I mean, Belle Delphine lost 90 grand to PayPal just deciding that the whole bathwater thing was against terms of service after she'd already made 90 grand doing it. And then they just kept that money and gave her no recourse of any way to do anything about it. So, you know. Can I get the stream back? No, there's absolutely no way. They literally removed it from existence. Like, there's no evidence that it happened. On either YouTube or Twitch or my computer, which are the three places it could have been saved if it would have been saved. But I've just been relying on YouTube's archive because Twitch doesn't automatically save videos. I don't know what I have to do to make it save videos. I know it can. But I also know that it's got like limited storage. Whereas YouTube, the best thing about YouTube by far is the unlimited storage. Like, to me, YouTube is as horrible and evil as a company as it is still the best game in town because it has unlimited free storage for your content, which is crazy. It's not going to last forever. They're not going to do that forever because YouTube, I mean, video just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually it cannot. They're just going to start charging you for being able to upload a certain size or something. I don't know. It just seems untenable long term to supply so much storage, you know, because nobody else can do it. No other competitor has even fucking come close to being able to offer that. Now granted, if you're sad about not getting to see one of my streams again because you took it for granted that it would exist in perpetuity, that is kind of on you. Back in my day, we just recorded everything if we cared about it existing. The only reason most of TV history exists is that some people just taped that shit, you know? Somebody was out there recording all day everything that they watched. And even then, you only got that one vantage point, you know, like, for a long time there were only 3 channels, so it wasn't that hard to tape everything, but like, well, but also most of that time was before taping was really possible, so I don't know. Maybe taping only became possible around the time, I don't know how the timeline lines up on that, when taping became possible versus when there became more than 3 channels. But I do know that taping has, I mean, the reason I've seen Fooly Cooley so many times is that I taped it the second time that it played on Adult Swim, and then I watched my tapes. Probably the only show I've ever like even bothered going to that extent of like taping the whole thing and then rewatching it multiple times through my tapes. Although I don't think I had ever taped episode 4, because I remember when I saw the show like the 5th or 6th time, you know, in download form, being like, what the fuck, I don't remember any of this. It probably spooked me too much as a kid. I just didn't even want to watch it. Taping started in the 70s, that sounds right. And I don't think they had that many channels in the 70s. I think that was still the 3-channel era, black and white, tiny picture TV. That's what my parents grew up with, is like, TV is a gigantic box with a tiny screen, and, you know, has 3 channels, and you're sitting like as close as you possibly can to it to see what the fuck's going on. But they were also like the first generation totally like raised on TV, just, you know, having it as like a fact of life from childhood, and therefore always being like blown away by advancements in television, you know. I'm the first generation to have that for the internet. First like internet kid. That's why I was 21st century digital boy before, and eventually digi bro, is because I saw myself as like, yeah, I'm the digital kid. That meme with Cowboy Bebop at his computer, and it's fucking Ed from Cowboy Bebop, who's a girl sitting at a computer, and it says video kid Cowboy Bebop at his computer. That meme is from like some magazine that clearly got the wrong informational about Cowboy Bebop. That's me. I'm video kid. Cowboy Bebop at his computer. But anyway, you know, that's, for my generation, it's kind of taken for granted that like all information exists out there. But as I've gotten older, I've realized like not only how much information doesn't exist on the internet, but also like how hard it is to get the information onto the internet. Like, you know, someone has to know it and want to share it before the process even begins of something, you know, getting to the internet. So it's like, it has to be like a evaluation of the information first before it even makes its way there. Pusha with 5 Australian reminisce about watching Darlene is Spiritual with JoJo. It was amazing. We watched this incredible Brandon Rogers video called Darlene is Spiritual that LaPusha paid to have us watch. And the only part of it that keeps replaying in my mind, of course, is Adam Nalen and Brandon Rogers in a bathtub together, and Adam shits a massive cloud of brown shit right before Brandon vomits a corn apocalypse back onto him. And also everybody said a lot of bad words, and it was great. Oh, also the part at the end where she finds out she's not pregnant and then like pounds on the belly and just mud shoots out. Fucking incredible work. You know, I consider Brandon and Adam as somewhat personal icons. I gave this disclosure last night that I had met them before knowing who they were and just thought they were really cool. and then watched their content and realized that if I had known what they were doing before meeting them, I would have probably been too starstruck to actually hold the conversations I had with them. I talked to them like as though I was like an internet creator on the same level, like, you know, oh, I've been around a long time, you know, I write criticism and stuff, you know, I did analysis, you know, kind of a cool, kind of a big shot in hotel when me and Nate viewed it like several years prior to this. 2 years? No, maybe it was only 1 year prior to this. This would have been 2021, I think. Maybe it was early 2022. It was the second Too Many Games I went to, I think, that had the Vivzy crew at it. Whichever one he did the dad video at, the birds in. So, like, again, I just didn't know who they were on that level. And I also explained this last night, you know, Richard Horowitz was there, the voice of Billy from Billy and Mandy, Invader Zim, and like Imp Boy from fucking Moxie from Hell of a Boss, which again I had not seen yet, but I knew who that guy was on a level that I did not want to approach him. I was like, I have a really hard time if I actually am gonna be like fangirling about something to approach that person. You know, it's a lot easier if I can think like, oh, this person's my age and like, you know, they've maybe seen some of my content or have some idea of the kind of thing I do, so we could kind of be like on a level, you know. But if I'm just like, you're a legend, you're an icon, like your voice is the first voice I ever learned, you know, like you're the first person I ever went, oh, that's the same voice as that other guy, you know. I remember Billy and Mandy being like my favorite vocal performance that I had heard up to that point, being as like a fucking 13-year-old, you know. I'm sure that entire sentiment I just expressed has been expressed to that man more than once, probably that night. You know, I did not want to be the fourth person that comes up to the, you know, celebrity and says, oh my God, I'm such a huge fan. I've been following you since I was 13, whatever, you know. So I'm very glad retrospectively that I did not know who Adam Damon and Brandon Rogers were. And so just approached them from the perspective of like, oh, these are writers in like a field that I want to get into. Because at the time, I had just storyboarded a 7-minute anime that Mint Salad had already done preliminary animation on. We've never gotten back to working on it, but at the time, that was looking like it could be our next project. So I was like, you know, hoping to talk to these guys who know about writing animation, because I was planning to start writing animation. But since that animation has not been completed, I've never tried to talk to them again, you know. I kind of felt like I have to, you know, prove that I actually can do it, that I actually, like, I want to have a finished animation and be able to go, hey Adam, and check it out, like I did it. Remember meeting me like 3 years ago and I said I was going to write a cartoon? Well, here you go, I did it, bam, you know. So we'll see. But definitely people I'd like to work with. I don't know if I am, like, I also feel insecure about my talent level compared to them though, you know. That's why, I guess that's what I'm trying to say about why I was glad I didn't know who they were, because if I had known, like, if I had seen Brandon's videos, I would have felt like I couldn't talk to that guy because he's too much more talented than I am. And granted, I got that impression from hanging out with him. Like, I figured that out as the night went on, you know. But, you know. Sometimes humility can be gratifying. It's like you find out that that person who seems cooler than you actually is that much cooler than you. And then you're like, well shit, I guess that's like something I can aspire to now, you know? I definitely started doing characters more because of that. Like, the whole Queermo character would never have existed if not for me finding out about Brandon Rogers' content, you know, and being like, oh man, I want to do like a hard dissociative, totally different character. That sounds fun. I don't know if I'm on the road I thought I was on. I thought I was walking to the cemetery, but I found myself, I don't remember if I've been on this road. Some really nice houses here. Y'all talking about my new book? Yeah, if you want to read Sunops, the Google Doc is linked in the debut stream. I intend to redo... This was also something I talked about in the last fucking stream, goddammit. I have to remember everything that I talked about last night in this deleted stream. Actually, before I get into any of that, let's fucking address the title. Because in the last stream was called... The last stream that actually exists was called Be About It. And I had meant to give a whole rant about what that title meant. But that stream ended up being short because my parents got home quicker than I thought and needed to use the office. But I had intended to follow it up later and explain what I had meant with the title, which is why the name of this stream is If You About It, or If You Bout It. If you bout it, be about it. That's the full statement. So I titled this stream so that it would look like a sentence, and I had done the same thing last night. And frustratingly, I still forgot to explain what it meant. So I took it as a sign from God when I saw that that stream had been stricken from existence, that I needed to do it again. Like, I had to use the title again, but this time don't forget to explain why you're using the title. So, I hope my voice is overpowering the massive number of cars and buses that are about to be passing by me. I could be louder than any amount of Norfolk traffic. I am the loudest live streamer you've ever heard! Kneel before the might of my loudness! I'm just gonna like do an environmental, here, fit check, yeah. Also self-audit. So, last time I self-audited, I had just gone to Walmart, I think. No, I went to Aldi. Oh fuck, I haven't even released that clip yet. I made a clip. I filmed myself taking everything out of my cart and putting it into the car so that I could play it on stream later to continue my self-audit where I explain every single thing I buy on stream. So like the $100 of groceries I got, I have a video for that I'll show you later because it's on the same phone I'm filming on. I also bought this sports bra and shorts and these new sandals I've got here because I needed sandals. It's hot as fuck. Needed more shorts because it's hot as fuck, and sports bras because I don't really have any that fit, and now I do. This one's amazing. Feels amazing. It's the first like bra I've gotten that actually fits, so I like it. And it's also like a shirt kind of. It's like the type of thing you can wear as a bra or just wear it because it's like a shirt. It's cool, you know. You all know this concept, I'm sure. Anyway, trying to tan that belly today. So I've already gotten much darker on my arms than I have on my bus! So let's see. I also got that pink top that I was wearing on Mint Salad stream the other day. All of this was at Ross Dress for Less. So I got 2 tops, new shorts, and the shoes, sandals. I think I got the sandals there. Yeah, I got all that stuff at Ross Dress for Less for like $48 or something like that. Seemed like a decent price for 4 items of clothes, all of which are necessities, and all of them really good. I'm very happy with all of the purchases. And then after that, I went to Food Lion Got a $21 pack of 15 pack of beer, variety pack. It's pretty good. A Milo's tea and a Turkey Hill tea, because the Milo's is 50 cents more than the Turkey Hill, and I wanted to see if it was really worth 50 cents more. It's actually worth several dollars more. It's way better. The Milo's diet tea is way better than the Turkey Hill diet tea. I will not make that mistake again. And then I got something else. Oh, some razors for Make Glorious Shave. Cheap razors. And maybe that was it from the food line. That was like 35 bucks. And then I think I spent like $25 at a local convenience store / fast food place to get food because we were lazy about cooking and Bird was really hungry. So I got us some yummies. So that was like 25. So that's the self-audit since the last stream. Oh, I also paid $20 for a campground that we're going to use on Wednesday night. We'll definitely be streaming there. Okay, now all of that is tax write-off. Just got to keep it all in the show, you know? Okay. Jeff at that Ron 10 says it's messed up that you can only keep 33% of super chats. I know. I mean, it's messed up in the first place that, like, as an independent creator, everything I get paid for is like I'm a contractor, basically. So, you know, most people, their job just like pays their taxes for them. So it's like you're told, okay, you're making $16 an hour, and then you get your paycheck and it says like 450, and you're like, if I did the math, it would be like 600, but they already took the taxes out, so I get 450. But you just don't think about it that way, right? Like you're not thinking about the math. You're thinking about, well, I know if I work 40 hours, I make 450. I know if I work 50 hours, I make 550. You know, like you're not doing the extra math to figure out how all the tax breaks down or whatever. As an independent creator who has to pay your own taxes, you have to just be remembering to set aside basically just a third of everything you make with the expectation that it'll go to taxes later. But it can be really difficult to predict, like, what tax bracket am I going to be in? Because if I don't make the same amount of money, and I never do, like month after month, I can't predict it, you know? Which, predicting your earnings is a big part of business. I've never been able to predict my earnings at all. It changes fucking constantly. It's so dependent on, like, whatever happens to pop that month, you know? Like, so there's so little guarantees. So for a very long time, the way I managed my career was I just kept a huge savings. And then at the end of the year, I would do taxes and it would eat into my huge savings. And then I, you know, continue on. And I just lived such an inexpensive lifestyle that it never really seemed like it was going to matter. But then I started dating and paying for other people's things. And also I moved to Boston and got a really expensive place, which is a huge, huge mistake. So I burned through all that extra savings that I had. And so ever since then, basically I've made so little money that I don't even fall into the bracket of being taxed in the United States anymore. I think I've made less than 10 grand a year for the last like 4 years probably. So you know, once I start really making money again, which is this year, I'm already making, probably guaranteed making more than 10 grand this year. So unless I stopped live streaming, you know, like or just stopped doing anything that made me money didn't get a job, stopped, like if I became a NEET or something, or became incapacitated, then I would not make 10 grand this year. But I am on track to handily clear the you're gonna have to pay taxes for what you made this year bar, which means that I need to start putting a third of everything I make into a big savings to be able to pay my taxes when the time comes. And yeah, that sucks, especially when it's so hard for me to know. Like, I can be looking at the screen and YouTube is telling me you made $100 this stream, and then I'm like, well, okay, so I made $30 this stream, you know, like, gotta do the heavy adjustment in my mind of, okay, YouTube's gonna take the first third of that. And so, like, on stream, YouTube is telling me how much I've been donated on stream, like the exact number. And then when I go into my analytics, that's where it tells me my take. So, you know, it might say 250 by the end of the stream, and then I go into the analytics and it says 180, and I go, okay, well, yeah, that's after the third is taken. And then I think, okay, but now I have to save 90 of that, you know, for it to be used somewhere else. So really, I've got $90 of spending money off of making 250 bucks in a stream, you know, and then figure out how I'm also, like, however much I make, I don't see any of that money until 22 days into the next month. So it's like, you know, if I make some money today, I'm thinking about, all right, well, that's 60 bucks that I will be able to spend as of the 22nd of next month, you know. So yeah, the system of YouTube Super Chats, it's deceptive in the sense that it's so convenient that it will make you money where you might not have been able to make money, you know, like that even if it's only a third of what you're all paying that I actually get, if you had no other way to pay me, I still made more than I would have, you know. If you can't use, like Lapucia, who cannot use Venmo or Cash App or Zelle to pay me, I just simply would not get anything if not for the Super Chats. But this is why I put so much emphasis on doing it another way, because, you know, if you send me money through Cash App or whatever, I still have to set some aside for taxes, but it's a third. You know, it's not 2/3 that I'm counting on not using. Anyway, I feel like I've given this boring financial explanation more than once, but I got to make it clear, you know, since people are asking questions. Let's look back through the chat and see what y'all have been talking about in the meantime. Make sure I didn't miss any super chats. It looks like I always try to heart them and like them so that I'll remember that I've seen them. Let's see. This was all a while ago. Audio issue. Yeah. Muted. Yeah. Lost media. Explained. Alright, this is where I know. Trixie, do you ever watch anime on mobile? If so, what streaming site do you use? For me, Kiss Anime, GoGo Anime, 9 Anime. Video players don't work on my phone. I pretty much never watch anime on mobile. I don't know what Bird uses, but he definitely isn't paying for a streaming service. He's probably would just Google. Well, no, he uses Netflix. So if Bird's watching anime, he's probably watching it on Netflix. But Bird more so just kind of watches whatever is on Netflix. Like, oh, bird flew right into my fucking windpipe. Bird, bug, I meant. Oh, that was awful. Yeah, like, if like a whole show gets uploaded to Netflix, Bird will just spend the next few weeks like marathoning that show. Right now he's rewatching House again. So sometimes it'll just be like, I'm gonna watch House for the 5th time, or I'm gonna watch all of NCIS, all of Seinfeld, you know, like he'll literally spend like months just binging a show all the way through. And that'll pretty much be most of what he's doing with his time, especially if he's working like a normal job. You know, he'll alternate between just watching the show or playing video games while watching the show. So for instance, because Shadow of the Erd Tree is out right now, he's basically been playing Shadow of the Erd Tree while having House on his phone, you know. So yeah, I guess it's probably fair to call him like a Netflix power user. But he'll also switch services. Like, he'll just cancel a service, do another one until he's seen the shows on that, cancel that service, you know, or get somebody else who has the service to let him use theirs, watch a show, and then be done with it. Personally, my methodology 100% of the time for watching something is going to be, I open up DuckDuckGo and I type watch and then the name of the thing. And I just use whatever works. I keep clicking through them until one of them works. I usually know which sites are better, you know, or more likely to work. But, you know, it's rare that you can't find something unless it's obscure. And in that case, you just need to look for the community for that thing that would actually know where it is and probably get a torrent off of somebody's site. Anyway, that was a lot of answer to an unpaid question, but I was interested in it. Remember the Heartbreak Freak, the animation that you got paid to rant about? That is me. I've made 2 other animated shorts since then. One a tearjerker for college, and one a magical girl one for GoFundMe. I'll help you animate something. Well, we could definitely work on something. I will look at all your animations and I'll write something that will be good. I like to do things custom with people. I've come to realize, like, my skill is translation. Like, I'm not literal, I don't know any languages well enough to do it, like, as a, you know, job, the way people usually think of it. But I consider what I do fundamentally to be translating art to people, you know, explaining what did they mean by this, you know. In my everyday life, I'm very good at helping people have conversations. I'm good at noticing what someone is saying that the other person's not understanding and filling in the blank for them. Because usually to me, it's really obvious what people are trying to say. And it's frustrating to see someone not understanding it, you know, if I'm picking it up. Or if I think it can be frustrating that they're not communicating it well, that they keep choosing the same words instead of thinking of the next word, you know. So I'm good at helping people have conversations, we'll put it that way. I'm not as good at, like, starting conversations. I try to do it a lot on this stream, but usually the conversations I'm trying to start, no one has thought about this shit at all. Like, I'm usually thinking about shit that's so out there that I bring it up and everyone's like, well, I've never considered this at all, so now I'm gonna have to spend the next fucking 3 weeks thinking about this so I can get back to you with an answer. And by that point, I've already moved on, you know, to something else. So then people are like, oh, I was thinking about that thing you said 5 years ago. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I forgot. I don't remember saying that. So it's easier for me, instead of trying to start my own conversations, to help other people with their conversations. And part of what I mean by that is helping other people to realize their artistic goals. I'm better as, like, an editor, and I'm a good editor for my own content too, which, you know, is how I developed the skill. But I am pretty good at looking at what someone else is doing and going, you should change this, this, and this, and it will read perfectly. And usually the person agrees with me, you know. I don't usually give people criticism that they themselves are resistant to. And the few people I've dealt with who were like that, they were resistant to everybody they come to, and everyone hates them for it. You know, like, I've dealt with artists where, like, they complained about my feedback. I talked to somebody else who also had their feedback complained about, and we just go like, well, we're not gonna help that guy, you know, like, sorry, you can't bitch about all the feedback and then expect to keep getting it, you know, because you don't like the feedback you're getting. Necromancer is kind of a good example. Yeah, definitely seems like that type of a person who's bounced around a lot, being told what he's doing wrong and saying, well, nuh-uh, you know. Or that Griffith dude. I don't know how many of you were here for that stream where this dude came in who's got a whole channel dedicated to ball washing Griffith from Berserk and, like, insisting that he's a good guy. It seems that he's mostly just obsessed with the idea that, like, Griffith should not be held responsible for Femto's actions because he relates to Griffith and he doesn't want to see Griffith as being Femto. And I'm just like, bro, you are obsessed with a fucking comic book. Like, you need to calm down. Like, this has become your life, is being the Griffith ball washer guy, to the point that the only reason it came up is that he showed up in the chat and somebody else went, hey, that's that Griffith ball washer guy. And I was like, okay, well, I want to know about this, and I investigated. But like, when you got into a level where your whole reputation is that you're the guy who thinks that the like most famous villain in manga deserves a little bit more like respect, I guess, you've lost your mind. Like, you've gone too far. You've gone off the deep end. You don't need to do this, because it's just not even a good look. Like, it makes it sound like you're saying, I'm Griffith and I feel bad that people keep shitting on him. And it's like, yeah, those people would hate you too, though. Like, you can't expect everybody to like you. Even if you think that you're cool and Griffith is cool, those people will probably hate you. They do. I mean, obviously, they hate his videos. But yeah, no, just not. It's not a route worth pursuing, I think, to be ultimate Griffith ball washer man. Anyway, why the fuck did I get onto that topic? I forgot how I ended up on the Griffith ball washer man topic. I'm really into this phrase ball washing, by the way. It's become like kind of popular online, calling people a ball washer. I think I got it from the ripoff verse, because he kept talking about Jeremy Quarter Pounder ball washing Eric July all the time. God, those guys are fucking the worst. His whole argument is that the transformation changed Griffith into a different person, and so he can't be responsible for what Femto did, but like, no, that's straight up wrong, lol. I mean, beyond that being wrong, it's not like Griffith was like an amazing person in the beginning. Like, he's a warmongering psychopath. He just thinks he can do it. Like, okay, Griffith's whole premise is, I can do better than the people who are in charge now. You know who else's premise is that? Everyone who tries to seize power. Like, it's just, that is the corruption of power, is thinking like, well, people in power are doing it in a way that fucks me over, so I'm gonna fuck them over until I have power. And then I'm gonna rebuild this whole thing in a way that serves me and fucks over all the people who were in power before, Like, I don't think Griffith's position was necessarily like respectable so much as it is that, like, if you were somebody who felt like you could be in Band of the Hawk, I could totally like Griffith wasn't like an altruistic guy. He's like collecting the biggest badasses, like his thing is basically going around finding people who like don't fit into the social structure but are badass and being like, you're in my thing now. Maybe I'm projecting, this is how I relate to Griffith, is like, yeah, building a Band of the Hawk so that you can like overtake the powers that be and be the new powers that be, because you collected all the most talented people that the powers that be were ignoring, or that like, that just don't like the way that they've been treated by society. Like, so that's my read on like what made Griffith who he was. Like, he wasn't a good guy or a bad guy per se. He's a good guy to the people who follow him. He's a bad guy to anybody who doesn't follow him. I think as readers, it's easier for us to be sympathetic to Griffith, in part because Guts is the main character and he's obviously admires Griffith and like wants to be a part of his thing. But Guts is also like, yeah, kind of admirable in a sense, but like not a good guy. Just like the whole manga is him just murdering people, I don't know, trying to like defend the berserk, like defend a moral line of berserk characters because you're so upset that people think like Griffith is a rapist, when actually it was totally, Griffith had just basically raped the princess like 3 chapters earlier. You know, like, it's not like he was not a patternistic rapist. I'm sure that guy would probably argue that the scene with the princess isn't rape for some reason. These are the reasons that we're never going to see, like, you're never going to make a compelling argument that changes everybody's mind if we just all think different things about what is in the text, you know? But, yeah, Griffith is definitely, I mean, Griffith's insecurity about his lack of power comes from the fact that he is a twink fuckboy that was used as a toy to gain a little bit of extra fucking funding so that he could actually start his campaign. So yeah, of course he's trying to take power through sexuality. Of course he's going to use rape as a weapon because that's what he understands. That's how it was done to him, you know? It's supposed to show you how much he's degraded as a person, that he has lost his mind. He's lost his nobility. Without guts, he's lost his fucking, you know, whatever goodness existed in him. So, yeah, no, ball washing Griffith is a big mistake. Big mistake. Didn't expect to go on a big old berserk analysis on this walk, but, you know, walking around a graveyard will kind of do that to you sometimes. What the fuck was I talking about before I got on about this fucking Griffith ball washer guy? Ah! Fucking planes. Look at that. Weird little drone looking plane thing. I don't know if you could see that. Gunter Schmleckel, you have to pay for answers to tough questions like that one. Alright, let's see what y'all have been talking about. Where will Sunops be? Right, I was also talking about that. Because, oh man, I still haven't even explained the be about it thing. Okay. Because a lot of you aren't American, so you might not know these slangs. But, there's a phrase, if you're about it, be about it. If you about it, be about it. I usually hear it said with the first one bout, but the second one about, you know. If you bout it, be about it. Almost like saying you are about it. Be about it. What it basically means is just simply, you know, if you stand for something, then you need to be actively standing for it. You know, you can't be passive about saying, oh yeah, of course I love this, of course I love you, baby, but then you don't show any affection, you know? Like, well, how, like, you keep saying that, but are you really? If you're about it, be about it. Act in a way that reflects your involvement, you know? Maybe I'm over explaining this and it was obvious what it meant from the start, but the reason I've been thinking about it is that I've always been trying to figure out, what am I about beyond myself? I'm obviously, you know, narcissistically self-involved. I'm about myself, but how do I make that interesting for other people? Typically, the way that we communicate, the way that we come together is by being about something together. Whether that's just getting fed, you know, getting bread, getting fucking lead, I don't know. Whatever you're trying to get, you know, getting it in together. That's what communication's all about. But what are you trying to get in? What are you trying to get into? Like, for me, figuring that out has been like a core aspect of my life. And I know, like, I've tried to be about a few different things. When I was growing up, I was very much I'm all about whatever it is I'm about at that time. But I was flaky. I didn't stay about shit. I shifted gears. I kept changing lanes. You know, when I started, the first thing I can remember being totally obsessed with, probably Barney. You know, like at a level where it's like, you know, I was carrying around a BJ toy everywhere. Like I was like, this is my jam. This is what I stand for. I stand Barney. This is a Barney household, you know. And then I graduated to Power Rangers. And it's like I had a Megazord birthday cake, you know. My mom always made me custom birthday cakes. So like whatever I was obsessed with at that time, I was like, that's going to be the birthday cake, you know, because it's so important to me. It represents me. It is my identity, is fucking Megazords and dinosaurs, you know. And then Beast Wars came out, and I was like, oh, fucking Beast Wars. We had a computer at my house. I would go onto Google, not Google, what would it have been, Yahoo? Probably Yahoo search. I can't remember what the first search engine I used was. I think I would have gone on Yahoo and typed in Beast Wars and like just printed out the tiny little thumbnail images. I would have like a whole sheet of printer paper and like a fucking tiny little thumbnail of fucking Scorponok or whatever. I'm trying to remember the name of that, like, fire ant dude. Inferno. Yeah, like a little fucking JPEG of Inferno. Anyway, so then I was all about Jurassic Park and fucking dinosaurs. And then I was all about Godzilla, because one of my friends in first grade, he got me into Godzilla. And I was like, Godzilla's the shit. The American Godzilla movie came out. And then I remember when the reviews, I loved the American Godzilla as a kid. To me, it was just more Godzilla. But then the reviews came out, and they all shit on the movie. My mom was like, oh man, it didn't do well in the box office. They're definitely not going to make a sequel. And she was right. And that killed Godzilla for me at the time. But then Pokemon came along. And Pokemon, I was like, this is it. This is the one. This is my life. 4 years. Pretty much only thing I was thinking about. Pokemon. All day, all night. From Gen 1 until Gen 3. And then Gen 3 came around. And I had gotten to this point where my family had moved a whole bunch in like the year 2001. And we ended up at a point where we had no cable. And Pokemon was no longer on like Kids WB, but they had Yu-Gi-Oh! So I ended up getting into Yu-Gi-Oh! And buying a whole bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards, but I could never identify with Yu-Gi-Oh! On the same level as I did Pokemon for whatever reason. Like, I think just because it's like kind of like Pokemon again, you know? But it was like, whatever, I guess it's cool to have another one, you know? But I think that's the period where I started to get jaded to like having one obsession. And I wish that hadn't, I feel like having one obsession, especially if it had been Pokemon, if I had never left the Pokemon bandwagon, like if I had known that Pokemon would have its time in the sun again as a global phenomenon, that like being a Pokemon lifer could have afforded me to be like the ultimate Pokemon expert going forward, you know? I could see taking that path, but not having become who I've become now. There's no going back. I'm too interested in too much other shit, you know? I let the Pokemon obsession sail away from me. Maybe that's for the best, because I've become this unique creature, but this unique creature also doesn't make any money, so maybe it's not for the best. It's hard to say. I like myself. Is that enough? Is that all that matters? Do I need the rest of the world to celebrate me and pay me? Yes I do. Obviously I do. Otherwise, why would I be doing this? Okay, yeah, we've resolved that issue. Self-doubt defeated. What was I talking about though? Yeah, not becoming a Pokemon lifer because I did other things. Got too into music, got too into anime. And like anime to me was never like one show. It was always about like having anime magazines and watching Adult Swim and like the whole catalog of it, you know, the idea that there was all these different anime was always what made anime interesting to me. So becoming obsessed with anime, like, anime fans come to be defined more by their taste. Like, it's less about, oh, I love this one show so intimately. It's more like, here's the cloud of shows that kind of represent the type of things I like, you know? But it's a lot more powerful to have, like, the way that Landon is with Ghostic, where it's just like, this is my anime, you know? My mentor Ghostlightning had that with Macross. He's like an obsessive Macross lifer. He'd been obsessed with Macross since way before he knew what anime was, and just cares about it more than the rest of anime put together, you know? Like, Macross is his main love, and the rest of it kind of springs from that love of Macross, you know? And with anime, for me, again, it came to me in the form of magazines. It came to me in the form of my cousin's DVD collection, and in the form of Adult Swim as like a block of shows. It never came to me as one show to be obsessed with. And there was never, still never has been, one anime that I've ever been obsessed with. Like, anime has always been interesting to me holistically, but never individually on a level where it's like commanding of my life and attention. And so I've always felt like I was kind of meandering around anime fandom, but never quite falling in with like a crowd there, because there are people who are like, you know, all they care about is this one genre, or like maybe one studio or one style of animation, and that obsession allows them to really get into the heart of it and become like the expert, you know? And you can't really be the expert on all of anime. It's too big. You can't fit all of it inside of your brain, you know? But I could not figure out what was the niche that I was trying to find as an anime fan until like fucking well into making videos about it. And it took lots of analysis of shows to realize that like my favorite shows are basically community shows about community and about relationships, like about why people would work together, why people would want to be together, you know? Like, my favorite romance stories are basically exploring how these characters make one another's lives better. My favorite, you know, shows about friendship, like K-On! Is about how the characters make one another better. Log Horizon is about how different social groups improve one another by existing in the same space, you know? Sangatsu no Lion is about how human connections help you to cope with reality, you know? So like, yeah, I like community shows. And it's not really a genre that's ever been codified until just now when I said it. I guess a few days ago when I thought of this idea. But yeah, and that genre, I'd be interested to find how that genre transcends anime, and if it would be as important to me in a context of other media to find stories about that. But particularly with anime, that seems to be the draw for me, is like shows that just have an elaborate sense of how people are drawn together, presenting how people are drawn together, I guess. Shirobako, obviously, is my go-to #1 favorite, because it does such a good job of representing that as being like what anime is, literally is a community of people coming together to make something out of just simply bizarre obsession, you know? Like, well, I grew up watching cartoons and now I'm here, you know? Like, that's kind of the vibe of Shirobako. And yeah, that's why, so like, in figuring out how to be about it, I have spent a lot of my adulthood like trying to dig through my past to figure out like what created me, you know, how did I get this way? Because usually the answers I feel like are easier. Most people grow up in like a more consistent environment or around the same people or the same like stuff. I grew up moving constantly. So I feel like my life is defined by the movement. It's why I like doing these streams walking around, why I usually walk in pace when I talk. Like, I'm just used to being in motion. My dad told me when I was a kid, like I had such bad insomnia, sometimes they would just go on night drives to get me to go to sleep, you know? Like, so I'm used to sleeping in a car from infancy. Like, it's just, it is it is a part of me to be in motion. So that's one thing that I am very much about, is the sense of constant movement, the sense of going from one thing to another, not having one central thing that you're obsessed with. But when you're constantly moving, there's always going to be some people who don't want to go where you're going. You know, like if I'm always in control of the ride, like if I'm making all the decisions about where we go, you basically have to strap yourself into Trixie's Wild Ride and be like, I'm down for literally anything. Not a ton of people are going to feel that way, especially about someone like me who's almost deliberately going to take you down some annoying roads. You know, like I enjoy being like informative and interesting, but I also kind of enjoy being obnoxious and off-putting. So, you know, and that's another thing where I'm trying to embrace that more, because in the early part of my career, that's kind of something I was trying to like leave out, you know, like particularly like the early brony content. Like the subject matter is in and of itself annoying to most people, that I'm like talking about My Little Pony. But I would try to do it in the least annoying way possible, where I was trying to be like friendly and kind and soft-spoken and like informative and intelligent, and not act the way that I act. You know, the character Digibrony was supposed to be not me. That's why I created like a mythos around the character, to be like, this is not me. I don't behave this way. I am not this nice person. And then, you know, when I got really sick of all the like young people who didn't understand my content at all, I flipped the script. I turned Digibrony into me. I made it into this smoking, degenerate, depressed like character, you know, a sketchy art style, and started putting like, I stopped making the videos easy to interpret. You know, I made them more, I just made it more like me. And, you know, I've talked about this plenty of times, but it really did cut my views in half and double my Patreon. It was as simple as that. Like an exact trade. I went from 70,000 views a video to 35,000 views, and my Patreon went from $200 a video to $400 a video almost overnight when I started the S4 Diaries series, because it scared away everybody who didn't really get it. And everybody who really got it way more. They're like, oh, this is what I was hoping you were like, you know? This is what I thought you were really like. So you know, that's why I've been always trying to be more personal, more myself. But even then, like, when I switched gears from pony to anime, no matter how much you might have been down for the S4 Diaries, if you didn't care about anime, it's just it's a big ask to be like, hey, I'm going to talk about a whole different entire show every week. And unless you've seen all of them, this means you're going to have like no shot of knowing what I'm talking about for the next forever, you know, unless you want to go and watch these shows. And so this is where, you know, my audience went from 40,000 views a video to 2,000 views a video, because I started talking about obscure anime. And it's not even that those anime wouldn't have, like, I could have gotten more views on those videos if I knew how to market them to anime fans. I didn't. I did a very bad job marketing my early anime videos. They usually didn't even have thumbnails. Like, I didn't think thumbnails were important until a couple years into my career, because I had never relied on them. I had relied entirely on people sharing my content. Like, all my views had come from Equestria Daily and from the fact that Sophisto thought my videos were cool. If not for that, I would have no career. I would have no career if not for the fact that, well, it started with Reddit. It started with the My Little Pony subreddit, which is where I had posted my content that first got them attention. Sophisto found them from that and posted them on Equestria Daily, which was far and away the biggest aggregate content site for My Little Pony stuff. Anime doesn't have that. Anime doesn't have a gigantic aggregate content site for anime stuff, because anime is too divided of a fan base. Too many anime fans hate too many other anime fans' taste. So there is no unification. There's no one place you can go to get all your cool anime content, and there still isn't, you know, because it's actually gotten even more fractured. We're at a point now where it's more like there's, you know, Jujutsu Kaisen fans, and there's Demon Slayer fans, and there's, you know, at this point, generationally, like, people who've been DBZ fans or Naruto fans for 15 years and still don't care about other anime, you know, like, there's just too many fan bases for there to be an anime fan base. Aside from, like, the seasonal people, like, people who just watch every seasonal show. And, frankly, I don't want to be one of those people ever again. I have been them too many times. Even if I cut it down to just, like, you know, sample every show and then drop until I'm down to, like, the core shows, it's exhausting. It is an exhausting effort to, like, dedicate yourself to keeping up with anything. You know, you have to, like, it just requires a level of caring that I don't have for being caught up on anime, especially if most of it's not that good. And it doesn't do anything for me to be caught up rather than just to marathon it when it's over 5 years later, you know, or whatever. The anime doesn't get any worse when time passes unless it sucked in the first place. So, you know, I'm not worried about getting to it on time. But then I'm also not one of those people who's super into really old shows. Like, there's a lot of people who are always about, like, oh, finding all the best stuff in the 70s and 80s. And I'm like, all that stuff's really good. Most of it's not as relatable to me, you know? Most of it doesn't hit me the same way that new stuff does because I'm living in the present fucking tense, you know? And so that's also a part of why I was 21st Century Digital Boy in the beginning, was that I didn't used to like old stuff at all. Like, I'm way more into old stuff now than I used to be. But when I was like a teenager, I really did not care about old stuff. So that's part of my switch to being the Golden Witch was I wanted something that sounds timeless and does sound old, you know, like, as I get old and I like old things and I learn about history, I see myself now more for my place in history than I do for whatever I'm doing. You know, I'm looking at myself in terms of, like, well, what do I represent historically? What will come of me historically, you know? So hence the Golden Witch is more of like a timeless sounding image. And obviously it's also an Umineko reference, but, you know, being Trixie the Golden Witch, it's like, I'm another one. Different one. You all know Beto. This is Trixie. Two different nicknames for Beatrice. Total coincidence that we're both the Golden Witch. I've been ranting, like, totally not paying attention to chat at all, just totally ranting for a while now. But it seems like you're all into it, so that's cool. This weekend, the uploads on Trixie Clips will be my reaction to Punch Punch Forever, episode 1. All right. Y'all should, if anybody has any, like, clips that you think that Trixie Clips should clip, you should talk about it. Or, you know, anybody else. Trixie Clips is already kind of, you know, filling up their plate with Trixie Clips. So if anybody else wants to take up, I would, in my mind's eye, like, when I imagine what the most dankly militant fan base would be doing, you know, is like every time, like, they have, first of all, have like a bot set up so that every time I go live, it automatically records locally to their computer. And then they go through, you know, whether whether they see the live or not, they then, well, okay, so the best way to do this type of content is the way Donkey does it, where Donkey is always recording locally while he's live streaming and playing games. But every time something happens that he knows he wants to clip, he stops and restarts the recording. So that it's basically, you know, he doesn't have to go back and edit, but he knows when it's time to edit, he's just going to use the very last thing that happens in that clip, you know? So if maybe 5 exciting things happen in a row, you've got 5 little short, you know, edits there. But for the most part, it's like, and scene, restart, you know, like as soon as the interesting thing stops happening. And that makes it a lot easier for him to sort through hours and hours of footage. So I would think the ideal way to handle a channel like mine that's so unpredictable of like what's going to be clippable, how much of each video do I need to watch, you know, you would have it set to automatically record. If you're watching actively, you do the stop start method to make the clips. And then if you're not watching actively, it would just be going back through your local recording and clipping anything that actually watching it in a video editor. This would be the most efficient way. You take your local recording, you put it into the video editor, you watch it in there, and then just take clips along the way. This is me imagining that all of you were like such obsessive super fans that you were like, Trixie's message must get out to the world. I must be sure, I must do everything in my power to ensure that everyone becomes just like Trixie the Golden Witch. It's the mission. Perpetuate the message. We'll find them. We'll gather some top autists to this stream. I know they're out there. Some top autists who maybe your favorite trans creator isn't doing it anymore, so you're like, hey, I'm available. Where's all of James Somerton's crew? They can't be busy. Get them over here. In fact, get James over here, goddammit. When is James Somerton gonna come let me write him a new career? I'm never gonna shut up about this. There's a few core tenets of this live stream show that we have to go over. I feel like every time I'm in the graveyard, I see all these dead people and I remind myself that I'm gonna die and that I really need to get my points out there as quickly as I can, So I gotta make sure I re-emphasize, straight people aren't real, all right? They're not real. They don't exist. There's no such thing as straight people. Anybody who says that they're straight is lying and you should not trust them. I know that's some of you. I don't trust you. I think you're lying. So straight people don't exist. That's tenet number 1. Tenet number 2, Jeremy Quarter Pounder needs to transition because she would pass better than me. And also she's got a very fuckable face. I think Jeremy would be surprised at how attracted they would be to all of the trans women that would want to fuck Jeremy the Quartering if she transitioned and said trans rights. Okay. Eric July is a terrible human and a worse comic writer. Riley did nothing wrong, and everybody should contribute to freeriley.fund to make sure he doesn't go back to jail for literally hurting Eric July's feelings. And Texas really needs to do some self-reflection on the fact that it's illegal to embarrass a millionaire in their state. All right, what else is important to this live stream show? Jeremy's gay. He's a rip-reverse ball washer. I got to get back home. I've done too much walking in these sandals that are these boots ain't made for walking like this. I'm starting to get a little sandal burn on the bottom of my left foot. I always go too fucking hard on these streams. All right, what else is important? Jeremy's a ball washer. Eric July sucks a lot. Straight people aren't real. You shouldn't trust anybody who says they're straight. Yeah, the Trixie commandments. We gotta think about what are the other Trixie commandments. $1 equals 1 minute of reaction. Core tenet of the channel. I don't know. I feel like I've gone over a few other topics. Billionaires are bad. Obviously, billionaires are all like child-eating, just like cultural rapists. You should, if you see a billionaire, you should probably like rape and eat them or something. Let's see, what else? Kill billionaires. What else do I need? What do I need out of you all? What do I need you to know? What do I need you to be carrying in your heart? Straight people aren't real. Kill billionaires. There's got to be some positive messages in here, right? I guess the whole hook from the song Road Dogg by Dope Body. Do what you wanna do, see what you wanna see, go where you wanna go. Be who you wanna be who you gotta be who you're made to be, baby. Road Dogg. Yeah, that whole hook, that's a core tenet of the live stream. Jeff with 10 Ron says, what are some people whose work you admire? Well, we just talked about Brandon Rogers earlier. That's definitely a good example. Man, I mean, anybody who does anything badass, I'm definitely admiring it. But like, I'm always the most impressed by people who can do the most by themselves. Maybe everyone kind of feels that way, but I feel like a lot of people both overcredit and undercredit how special talent is. Because on the one hand, we overcredit in the sense that like a Quentin Tarantino movies or something, right? Like Quentin Tarantino, very talented dude, like unfathomably talented, I would even say. But like, so are almost everybody else on his crew, you know, like like any one of those people, if you were looking at their career, you would be equally blown away, you know, because people who are really incredible talents tend to group together to do incredible things together, you know. But it is also easy to underestimate how much nobody else could do it, you know, like sure, that guy couldn't have done it by himself, but also no other group of 50 people could have, you know. So yeah, I think there's both an over and an under appreciation. Over appreciation of how much one person can contribute to a group project, and under appreciation of how good every single person in that group project has to be for it to actually be good. So anytime I see, like if I see a group project and it comes out really good, my immediate thought is like, well, all of these people must be amazing, you know, like, or at least most of these people must be amazing. Sometimes, though, it does require like at least one or two of those people to just be exceptionally like beyond the pale. You know, like it might just be, like it could be that all those people who work on that Tarantino film would tell you like, nah, I mean, none of us could have done it without him though. Like he's the like we all could have made another movie, but we couldn't have made that one, you know, without that singular guy being there. I do think there's an aspect of that, which is why some of those people's names really get out there like that, you know. But for the most part, like the people who I tend to model myself after are more so the ones who have found a way to, like, they work with other people, but so many different other people that they're never really like an obvious group, you know. Like you've got someone like a Tarantino or a Wes Anderson as like a film director who works with a lot of the same people over and over again to make a lot of the same results. I'm fascinated by people like Andrew W.K. Andrew W.K. as a singularity, as an entity, his whole thing is just being the most associated with the word party that a person can be. He just made so many songs about partying and being party, living party. His Twitter's about party. His whole identity is about the idea of party as like a mentality. And so Andrew WK has appeared in all kinds of different shit. He's all over the place, you know. But like, he's super identifiable as an individual, as just like a guy with a ton of energy that you can throw into whatever situation calls for party man, and he will bring that party, you know. I see myself as more of that type of a character, that you can just put me in a circumstance and I will be Trixie there, you know. You need Trixie, you need a trick. If you need a Trixie for something, you could throw me in that situation and you'll get a Trixie. Kind of like a character actor, I guess. So that's why I'm always trying to craft like, what is the Trixie brand? Because I want it to be clear to people who might require my services, what those services are. Do you need somebody to shit on right-wing grifters? Please include me. If you need somebody to do a better job shitting on right-wing grifters than anyone else is ever gonna do, get me involved. I promise. Oh my God, that reminds me of the song I wrote earlier. Hold on. I have to remember exactly how it goes. It's like, faggot, faggot, Melanie Mac, faggot, 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 Melanie Mac, faggot, Melanie Mac, faggot, 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 Melanie Mac, faggot, faggot, Melanie Mac, faggot, 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 Melanie Mac, faggot, Melanie Mac, faggot, 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 Melanie Mac, faggot, faggot, Melanie Mac. I can't stop singing it now. Faggot, 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 Melanie Mac. That's how you shit on right-wing grifters. That's what I'm talking about. Like, if you need more of that, bring me to the party. I'll sing you a million songs about Melanie Mac and how much she likes to say faggot. Faggot, faggot, Melanie Mac, faggot, 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 Melanie Mac, faggot, Melanie Mac, faggot, 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 Melanie Mac. It's so much fun to sing. I highly recommend giving it a shot. You know, make sure nobody's around, unless they're also a faggot like you, and then hit them with the Melanie Mac faggot song. I promise they're gonna smile. I promise you're gonna get some smiles. I want like now I want to make like a whole song out of that. Like I want the pianos under it. The chat has stopped talking. I assume you all died. I assume that I sang that faggot song and everybody had a fag hernia or something. And everybody's started jacking off someone in their vicinity, and so their hands were occupied. I don't know. Will I get kicked out of the rave if I play the faggot Melanie Mac song? Isn't the F word considered really bad now, like the N word? I don't know. Brandon Rogers says faggot in like every video he makes. He's got millions of views. So I don't think it's really, I don't know, is somebody gonna tell me I'm not allowed to say faggot when I'm dressed like this? Like, I don't know. Who's gonna tell me not to say that word? Why would I listen to them? You gotta consider what our opponents think of this. Like, when right-wingers think that, like, LGBT people are so precious that we literally are afraid of the word faggot, it allows Melanie Mac to have an entire career that is just saying faggot. That's it. That's all she does. She's a woman who's willing to say faggot. That's it. She's got it on t-shirts. She says it on Twitter every day. She finds like coy, cute ways to set her up for saying it. She always drops it like it's some kind of, like she's like mic dropping, you know, like she'll give herself a whole stand-up setup, and then the punchline is always faggot and mic drop. Like, that is only possible because they think that we are going to like cower in fear of hearing that word. And instead, to me, it just makes it incredibly funny how, like, I don't know why Melanie Mac has chosen this to be her grift, but it's pretty pathetic, and I think it deserves to be memed on a lot harder than it has been. But again, it's just a problem of my team is a bunch of pussies, and the enemy team is a bunch of cunts. So, you know, there's too much vagina to go around, basically, is what I'm saying. Faggot, faggot, Melanie Mac, faggot, 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 Melanie Mac, faggot, Melanie Mac, faggot, 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 Melanie Mac. Like, can you even be mad about that word after hearing it sung like that? Like, imagine if every time somebody called you, like you're walking down the street, you know, let's say one of these cars is passing, they sees me, and they take their slushie, and they fucking pelt me with it, faggot, boom, and I'd be like, whoa, watermelon flavor, huh. Faggot, faggot, Melanie Mac, faggot, 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 Melanie Mac, faggot, Melanie Mac, faggot, 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 Melanie Mac. How could you be mad? I can't even be mad anymore now that that song exists. Like, I can't live in a world with anger and that song. It's brought me great peace. I feel good. I'm never gonna get this out of my fucking head. Why do I write songs that I get stuck in my head and then I'm stuck with them? I need to get other people stuck with my songs so that I don't have to be stuck with my songs. Like, I need other people to sing them until I get sick of hearing them. And then I won't have them in my head anymore, theoretically. How are we going to read Sunops officially? Well, I mean, you can just go read the Google document. I don't know. What do you mean by that? What is officially to you that it is not currently available in? Because it's you can read it currently. I guess I'm just wondering what is a more official way of releasing it, if that's what you mean. It sounds like you're asking me where would I put it? Did the stream end? Did my stream end? On my end, it says I'm live. What's the monetization plan for the book? I don't have one. I really just wanted to write a book. Didn't think that far ahead. It's more, so I've got certain insecurities as a content creator, namely in that I feel insecure about not generating new, like, ideas for people to be excited about. Like, the fact that so much of my career is about talking about other people's shit and, you know, creating drama or stuff like that. And I don't mind, like, making money off of that stuff, or even if that makes more money than the stuff I do. I just don't want people to be able to say that I couldn't do better. You know, that, like, I don't want to be out there criticizing other people's work with no evidence that I could do better. So, like, I have some creative stuff that's out there, but most of it is a little too, like, obscure or weird to really, like, stand behind it as, like, no, I made this and it's good and everybody should read it because it's better than your thing, you know? But I was kind of going on about this earlier when I said I'm good at translating, right? I'm not as good at having original ideas. I have lots of original ideas. It's hard for me to make them real because I think I need somebody else to translate them for me. You know, like, if something if something in my head is abstract enough that I don't know how to just explain it, then I'm like, I don't know what to do with that. You know, I don't know how to make this progress past the something I can explain stage, you know? But if it's something someone else is explaining to me, I'm really good at filling in the blanks. So I've always had an easier time writing from prompts, writing from other people's ideas, writing about other people's ideas. But something I've gotten better at is being able to supply the writing skill specifically, because it's the one thing I can do very well, to people who have good ideas and can't write. You know, like, plenty of people have good ideas for stories, but cannot write them. And I have plenty of good ideas for stories that I can't write, but I can sometimes write someone else's story. Kus Omega was not my idea. It was entirely based on a one-line comment where somebody said, wouldn't it be funny if there was, like, a shitty light novel about a guy who writes shitty light novels getting sent into one and realizing how shitty it is. And I was like, it's a great idea. Kus Omega got really complicated when it got far enough past that initial concept that it now requires me to be generative, creative, And when I want to make something, I want it to be better than what I can do. That's the issue. I want it to be better than anything anyone's ever made before. I want the stuff that I make for, I've got it all in my head. I will take it where it's like I would have to understand the and write that, you know? Whereas if I'm looking at someone else's idea and their idea doesn't, it feels like I can be more complete than they can about it, it removes that guilt of like failing my idea. Because now it feels like I'm virtuously saving someone else's idea, you know? Like I'm, instead of ruining my thing, I'm salvaging your thing. Maybe that's what it is. It makes it easier for me to work on someone else's thing. So like with Sunops, it's Bird's idea, but I filled in all the blanks. But it also makes it so that every time I run out of ideas, like if I don't know where to take the story, I can ask Bird. Because ultimately, it's still kind of his story, you know? I assume this is the Matt Bozon way of doing things. If you don't know who Matt Bozon is, he's the creator of Shantae and the creative director of, Way Forward, the studio. Shantae was basically his wife's idea that he just fleshed out into stories and games and like mechanics and everything, you know? Like, she based the character on a real person that she had known in like a summer camp that she volunteered at or something. And through her describing this character and like the ideas that she wanted to have for her as a, you know, a game character, Matt Bozon fleshed out the whole rest of that universe and designed the games, you know? And he's done a lot of work, Way Forward has done a lot of work with other people's IPs. You know, they did the River City Girls, which is River City Ransom reimagined, you know, they've got the Contra reimagined stuff. Like, their thing is basically taking these IPs that they understand because they're fans of them and then reinventing them for an audience. I've always wanted to do that kind of stuff too, but it's also hard to, like, in the world of comics, that's kind of normal, right? Like, as a comic artist, you almost are more likely to get your start, like, working on an established IP than to actually launch a new IP or be expected to do that, you know? But you kind of have to work your way in through the industry, like, prove yourself to certain people that you can do this type of work before you've got, like, a foot in the door. And again, I'm not really proven like that. I don't really have, you know, I haven't, like, I've storyboarded comics, but none of them exist yet, you know? But once I have a comic I could show to somebody and say, I storyboarded this, then it's like, okay, now do I get to, and if people like it, now do I get to play around with other IPs, you know? I've got a great idea for a Devilman spinoff. I would love to do Devilman Underground someday. Give me the reins to Devilman. There's so many people so many artists have been let do Devilman. Please. Just let me on the list of artists. I'll be the first American Devilman adapter. But yeah, like, that's the kind of thing I want to do. My IP's too complicated. If I had somebody else to help me with it, it'd be different, you know. My IPs are too big for me to realize on my own. But Sunops, you know, that's Bird's idea. I feel like I have an incredibly strong, like, mental idea of what the story should be because I want it to appeal to Bird. It's not about being a story I would like, it's about being a story Bird would like, you know? So it can't just be about him, it also has to be like the stories that he likes. You know, have some of the same themes, have some of the same energy as other stuff that I know he thinks is cool. But also, it's not just for Bird, because Bird said that if he was going to make a story, it had to be accessible young adult literature that could compete with Harry Potter. So it's also got that going for it. Now, granted, I think I made it a little more adult because I hate children. But, you know, that doesn't mean it can't compete with Harry Potter necessarily. Maybe, you know, maybe people will grow up one day. and want to read a comic that, or a novel that is not literally about being in elementary school. You hope I finish Synops because you really like what you've heard so far. Me too. Well, and finish, you know, beyond, I guess what you should say is you hope I finish Synops, Rookies, Renegade Rookies, 3R. It's just, let's just call it 3R, all right? Synops 3R. Because I designed it from the ground up to be something that could be infinitely expanded on. So the reason for the 3R subtitle is that this is Rookie's story, you know? But in the same way that, like, if I wanted to Yellowstone it and tell a story, like, you know, with characters from 60 years in the past, or set one in the future or something, or just tell a story of another character in that universe, like, it wouldn't be 3R, you know, it would be Synops whatever, Synops Miami, Synops fucking New York or whatever. Wouldn't be New York, it would be somewhere sunny. Synops Miami actually makes sense. Synops New York does not make any sense. Because the powers are all sunshine based. Synops Hampton Roads, I could see it. It's not that sunny here, but it's actually not as sunny right now as it should be. It feels, it's oddly, like there's not clouds. I think there's actually just a vapor trail blocking me from the sun right now. Rook doing weed was a nice touch. More writers need to acknowledge that teens are doing drugs. Yeah. Well, and in this case, it's just, it was such a defining aspect of why Bird was kicked out of his house, you know? He was kicked out at 18 for smoking weed. His mom was even less rational about it than this mom is pretending to be in the story. But I didn't want to, like, in real life, Bird probably argued with his mom for fucking hours. He probably didn't have a 10-minute pithy conversation and go, you know what, my mom doesn't actually believe anything she's saying, you know? Like, I wanted it to be like if Bird, when he was 18, had a little bit more of the perspective that he's had as an adult, because then he would make different decisions. Like, it would be just a slightly more mature version of him at 18, who would have made, you know, and also one who finds magic and basically makes it very easy to be homeless on the first day. So, you know, that's a big part of it as well. But, you know, thematically the story is about freedom and about, like, really understanding what it takes to be free. Like, what is required of you to be able to do what you really want to do, especially as what you want to do keeps changing because of the people that you meet. And that's the main theme of the story is, you know, it starts off with Rook just literally trying to survive. But because survival becomes easier for him than it would be normally, thanks to magic, he's going to find some bigger ambitions than that eventually. And that's as much as I can say without it sounding like spoilers. So, you know, I just want to give people a taste of what to look forward to about this story. What am I going for with it? I always run the risk of over-explaining things as well and making it less interesting, but I think most of the intrigue of actually, like, consuming a story is in the consumption. Like, I don't think the what of it matters nearly as much as the how. So, you know, I think you can only really understand what the appeal is of a story through actually consuming it and seeing, like, the way it's presented and being like, oh, okay, I get it. I'm in the head of this story, you know. But that's also why I need as much analysis as possible, like people writing about my story, so I know what people are getting out of it. Because if they're not getting out of it what I'm intending, then, you know, I might have to rethink the way I go about it in small ways. Like if, say, I were to realize that nobody understood the description of the park. Like, that's one of the parts that it was kind of difficult for me because it's a literal place. You know, the park that he meets this guy at, it's a real park that, you know, I looked at maps to figure out where he was going. You know, so like starting from Escondido, I was like, okay, well, if he's trying to go to San Diego, like what's the route he's going to take? What parts, like what is he going to pass on his way that might get his attention? Where could he stop? Would he stop? You know, so in planning out his route, I put him in this park. And so I looked at the park and I tried to describe what that park literally looks like. But I don't know how much it contributes to the reading experience to know that there's like the 4 baseball diamonds in a circle. Like, it's a really interesting feature of that park in real life, but it doesn't necessarily add to the story other than that it reaffirms that he is in fact in that park and gives you like more of a mental image of it. But it's also kind of a difficult thing to imagine if you don't just immediately get it, you know. If you can't just perfectly imagine what 4 baseball diamonds back to back looks like, you know, I don't know what level of description would help. So that's the kind of stuff where it's like I need the feedback to know, like, was it easy to tell where the story is? Is it easy to tell, you know, what the characters are doing on a moment-to-moment basis? Is anything confusing? And also, what questions do people have that they're hoping get answers? Like, it could be that I left questions open and didn't even realize it, you know? Like, maybe I left like a little Chekhov's gun and then forgot it was there, so I gotta be reminded to pull the trigger. And I also want to see people's artwork because I want to see how people are imagining these characters. Like, am I conveying what I'm intending to convey in the way that I'm describing it, you know? So far there's been 1 sketch of Rook. It hasn't been, I don't think the drawing's been finished yet, from the same artist who drew my cow Sona that I used as the thumbnail on the previous stream, which I love. I cannot remember this artist's name, I'm sorry. It's like Moonlit, they keep changing the name in the Discord. I added them on Twitter when I posted the cow art, but they started drawing they sketched out a version of Rook that I was like, yeah, that pretty much fits the vibe, that seems about right. So I think I've probably got it. When you finish it, put it on Kindle. I will. I'll put each individual book. It's meant to be a series, so it's not going to be like one book. You know, book. It's SO3R Book 1, Homelessness. So the first book is just about the period right after Rook has been kicked out, and his first learning about operator powers. And you know, I'll find an appropriate place to end it, but there'll be more than one book. It's like a light novel series, basically. But yeah, when the first book is done, I'll definitely put it up to Amazon. But Rook's story is elaborate. There's a lot I can do with it. So, I mean, basically, I want it to feel like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Like, the same level of, like one arc of JoJo would be, like, the 3R story, you know? And then if there was to be another Sun-Op story, it would just be, you know, probably, it may or may not be structurally similar. I guess there could be lots of different stories that could be told in, it's a pretty broad setting. It's just like San Diego, but there's these families that have worked on this magic. I'll get a lot more into that later in the story. I don't want to spoil anything. It's so hard to talk about a story you're not trying to spoil. Is it also going to be like a villain of the week type thing? Kind of, but more like, how would I describe it? I want to use a lot of the shonen tropes of like Tiger Boy will be back. Aces Malone will be back. Like, he did not just show up to be a guy who gets his ass kicked at the start. Because a part of his personality is that he hates losing and is always trying to improve, you know? So like, that guy could be, for instance, I don't know if this is going to be the case, but I'm kind of viewing him as like a Vegeta type figure. Like a guy who's going to come back, try to challenge the hero again, and eventually be humbled to the point of maybe becoming allies, you know? Or maybe eternal enemies. I don't know. It depends on how the plot ends up playing out, you know? I don't know if these two are going to end up both hating someone else more than they hate one another, or if they'll find a reason to hate one another even more, you know? But he'll be back, so it'll be kind of like, you know, introducing, there'll be a lot of villains, but they're not necessarily like one-off and then they're done, you know? It's also not going to be violent like JoJo, because I am trying to keep it like, well, I don't know, it's funny, the cultural differences between Japan and the US about what would be considered like youth fiction, right? Like, I feel like American youth fiction is more likely to acknowledge sex and drugs, but not as likely to acknowledge violence, whereas Japanese youth fiction is unlikely to address drugs or sex beyond just like girls being hot, you know, or like really dumb, goofy sexual scenarios, and then like unfucking fathomable violence, you know? So I'm not going for violence. I don't know why I've got a low battery. Where there'll be girl characters. Yes, there will be girl characters. It is not a sausage festival. Oh, my phone's not properly plugged into the battery pack. That's why it's at low battery. I probably should have realized that earlier. But yes, there will be girl characters. It is not a sausage festival like JoJo. But JoJo K, the Return of Kings, or that whole, you know, the whole K franchise is a core influence, and Jujutsu Kaisen is also a core influence. But again, it's not going to be nearly as violent as Jujutsu Kaisen or JoJo's is. Maybe as violent as K. K is not terribly violent. More that, like, you know, that do-da-da-da level of like, everyone is snazzy and cool and they're beating each other up, but they're not like trying to kill one another. The magical society, I guess I'll call it, that the families belong to, that we'll get into, is more like a corporatocracy, basically. So it's gonna be more like, just more realistic, you know. I'm not trying to make like a cartoony violent thing where like people are getting blown up for no reason. Like, there's real consequences for the things that happen in the story in the real world, you know. It's treated with the expectation that like, I'm not, like, subverting reality would be noticeable, and that's why they're doing it on the down low, you know. Alright. Well, I'm heading in the direction of home. I don't know if I properly explained the whole be about it thing earlier, but I think I've been trying to find something to be about. And I've kind of been leaning on the whole queer furry thing because that is the community I like the most. Like, for me, being about it, like, there was a period where I was really trying to be about hip-hop, and I did a couple shows, and I've been to a few hip-hop shows, and I like doing shows, but like the culture of that is essentially more driven by like drugs than it is by music. Like, it's more so like people are looking for something to do, like an excuse to meet up and do drugs on like a weekend, and I'm cool with all that. I like doing drugs, I like music, I like going to shows. I just feel like you have to reach you have to really be famous. Like, you have to be really beloved as a musician to get to a level where people care more about your music than they do about just like going to a thing that night, you know? And I don't know if I can reach that level as a musician. Because I like experimental, weird music. And like, too much of the music that I enjoy is stuff that's basically just purely passion projects. You know, people who have day jobs and shit, like people whose first job is not music. So it's like, even the stuff that I admire isn't necessarily stuff that would make me any money to copy it. So it feels like trying to do that to any degree of mass appeal is probably faulty. Anime fans, particularly people who are fans of anime criticism, tends to be that all they want to talk about is their opinions of anime, which I don't give a fuck about anyone else's opinion of anime than mine. So that's always a boring conversation. So it's not really a crowd I want to fall in with. Furries, I mean, basically they just like cute shit. Most of them are really like fucking and getting drunk, which is cool. And they like to hang out in the woods more than any other type of nerds, as far as I know, because they, you know, they care about nature and shit. So it just seems like the right vibe. Like, if there was a group of people I was always going to have an easy time with, it's going to be furries, you know? So it also helps that I have no aversions to furry content. Like, I think there was a time I was afraid of furries, where I thought they were like, I don't know, somehow more exceptionally degenerate or weird than other groups, just because I didn't like the art, or I didn't understand the art. Like, I didn't find a lot of furry art immediately attractive, so I was like, oh, what is going on here, you know? But it's progressed a long way, because furry has expanded so much, and there's so many different art styles that are influential now, that I see furry art that I think is amazing all the time, you know? So I'm like, okay, well, this is a group of people I could definitely see spending time with. And I've already been tangentially a furry for like 15 years, because all my friends are furries. So like, everybody I know on the internet's a furry. All the conventions I've been to were slant furry conventions on some level, you know? Like, I've been in the furry party rooms at the cons. I've, you know, and more than just being like that, I have a lot of furry fans. It's my core fans. Like, the people who have been watching since the Brony days, you know, mostly are the ones who were like, oh yeah, being a brony totally makes you a furry. So, yeah, I'm like, you know what? If I'm gonna be about it, I'll be about it. If I'm trying to stand up for the most, like, downtrodden folk on the internet who've done nothing wrong, you know? So I'm already a trans woman. I think the trans community, obviously, we take ridiculous amounts of shit that we don't deserve. And furries do too. And there's a lot of trans furries. There's a lot of overlap in those communities. So I think more unification is better, you know? If we can all rally under a banner of, like, I think cute cartoon animals are cool, then that's a very fun banner to rally under, in my mind, you know? Yes, I did already have a pony Sona, and I've had an alpaca Sona, and a Brachiosaurus Sona or whatever. I've had a few animal personas already. I had a hamster Sona, Hamtaro Sona, or whatever you would call it. Multiple pony Sonas at that. I've now got a cow Sona. I did have kind of a cat, I think it was a cat Sona, the one that Mage drew for the D&D campaign we never did. There was a time where Mage drew, like, each PCP member as a character, so we could do a D&D campaign. We never did it, but we had the character designs. I think I was like a cute little cat girl thing. I don't remember. So yeah, I've had a number of personas. And I intend to keep growing the number. My mom pitched a great idea to me. because I was telling her, you know, I want my career to be about the stuff that I'm about, like traveling and like my two favorite things are camping and conventions. Like being in the woods or being at a con, those are the environments I enjoy the most. There are furry camping conventions. There are places where a bunch of furries gather to camp together. I would really like to attend something like that. But the question is, how do I make content out of traveling and being a furry? You know, like, how do I make that interesting to other people? I was thinking of an idea of, like, basically me and Bird, just as we travel, just always being, you know, dressed really faggoty and furry-like, and just see how it, like, what does it lead to? Like, being in different places, like, basically how fur friendly is your town? Like, that would be the experiment, right? So we'd show up in a place, and like if we're getting weird looks or like kind of getting a threatening atmosphere, you know, we'll talk about that. But if we show up in town and somebody's like, oh my god, your tail, and then we're like, how do we get to the furry meetup? And then, you know, it's just like, how furry is your city? I think that would be a very fun series to do as a live stream, you know. So it would just be us live in the streets, like seeing how a town reacts to us being gay furry in the road, you know. Yiffing in the middle of the street. Not literally, but I think that would be funny. Why does thinking about Hamtaro remind you of Chris Chan? Never mind, I don't want to know. I don't want to think of Chris Chan when I think of Hamtaro, so don't even tell me. Alright, I'm getting close to the house, so I'm gonna have to stop my recording. Also, my feet hurt. I'll be back in the afternoon, probably. Yeah, later.